Let's go. With no intro today. So, hey everyone. Welcome to With That Being Said, a Roof Fitness podcast. We are doing part 2 of, well, it's not really part 2, but just another nutrition cast because the one we did last week was so popular. So,
yeah, ongoing conversation about nutrition.
Yeah, we're going to do this more. So, I have with us the lovely Sarah
Altobello.
Boom. One of her many names. I also have with us the Joe Burrow of nutrition, Emily Schneller. That's when you're supposed to say your last name.
Oh, sorry. I don't know. He changes it up all the time.
And I am the Joe Burrow of podcast, Bradley Schneller. Nice to see you guys again today.
Humble servant of the podcasting world.
Humble servant of the podcast world. That is true.
That's proof that I listen to your other podcast.
Damn.
Either that or you listen to
got.
Shane and Jonathan talk shit about me. So
Nope.
that could also be it.
I listen to all your dad life episodes.
So I just want to talk about this real
Oh,
quick.
you're not going to take that opportunity to plug your other one?
If people want to listen to that dad life, they can listen to that dad life. So, I mean, it's not for everyone. There is a generous use of the F word in it. So just be prepared. It is not suitable for work unless you have AirPods in.
You know, I'm surprised none of us have made that into a drinking game.
The F-bomb, you guys would be hammered and probably in the hospital.
Does everybody know that With That Being Said started as a drinking game?
Why don't you tell everybody?
Bradley just said it all the time. So we would make a joke that every time he said it, we'd all look at each other and say, drink.
And now I say it the least.
Yeah, you definitely cut
broke
back
that
on your
habit.
Just
use.
like all it took was my mom one time to count the F-bombs in that dad life, and now I say it the least on that podcast as well.
I will say, though, whenever one of us uses it in copy, like in the members' Facebook board, it's always, we put it in quotes or when someone says it. I see, Bradley, like when you're coaching and you're about to say it, you like kind of roll your eyes. You're like, damn it, I'm already committed. And then the other coaches look at each other and we like put our finger on our nose.
There it is.
Found it.
Very nice, very nice. So last night, Emily had her birthday this weekend. She turned very old 35.
A very old.
A very young 35. I just meant you're old now.
Okay.
No, baby, you look the best you've ever looked.
Okay.
So
Thanks,
good job.
love.
And she's a Hummer, y'all.
I've been hungry.
Can you tell everybody what a Hummer is? It is not what you think.
Yeah,
Well, I
so
mean, it
maybe-
is. It is what you
Maybe
think.
explain for the
but
people
not
at home.
in the context of this show, Emily.
So it's the idea that you are training your body to go not very far with a lot of calories. To go not very far with a lot of calories. Okay, so just like a Hummer goes not very far with a lot of gas.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the ideal state where you're kind of still in a caloric deficit, still experiencing positive change in terms of body composition at the most calories possible.
Yeah, love it. So Emily got a air fryer, the Instant Omni Plus. We are not sponsored by Instant Pot, but if they want to, that'd be awesome. But we got
if you're listening right now.
the Instant Omni Plus. I want to say it is like 26 quarts or something.
It's fancy.
big.
It's got
it is
a
fancy.
rotisserie chicken attachment, which is good because we make a whole chicken pretty much every week.
Yep.
It's a dehydrator. It's a slow cooker. It's a toaster oven. It's an air fryer.
Yeah, we pretty much wanted the air fryer, but we've
Right.
always heard that you want to get the biggest air fryer.
Right.
So
But
last
you
night
got the deluxe air fryer.
we got a
It's
deluxe
super
one,
deluxe.
so it is super deluxe. But last night we did Brussels sprouts with some bacon
good.
in it. And it was
Solid.
delicious. I just wanted to throw that out there. It was my first time I've experienced the air fryer, and it was good.
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, thanks, Lex and Mark. So, all right, today, okay, we want to continue the nutrition conversation, and we're kind of talking about mindset on food, but just how we think about food in general. So I want to start it off, though, like most people, they label food very black and white as good and bad. And you talk about it all the time as on a spectrum. Can you explain that a little bit further?
I mean, I'll have clients come in and they'll be like, I really didn't eat well over the weekend. I had bread. I know that that's bad, but I ate it and blah, 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 blah. And I stop them right there and I'm like, you know what? Like, as much as possible, try to stop labeling as food as good or bad. You know, when we're talking about bread as an example, there is a wide spectrum of bread.
Right.
You know, you've got like highly processed white bread that
Costs $1.26
you know,
a loaf.
a month after you buy it, it's still soft and not moldy and, you know, it like lasts forever. And you have like an artisan sourdough sprouted, you know, homemade bread. Those two things are very different, right? So as much as possible, instead of just labeling this whole food or this food group as quote unquote bad, try to think about food on a spectrum. And, you know, if I want this bread, what's the best option that I could make to kind of still put me on path to reach my goals?
Yeah, and I think with how we used to do the nutrition challenges and how that evolved, there were only, I think, maybe 2 things we eventually said, really just stay away from these. Everything was like good, better, best options.
Right.
And can you have mostly the best options? I kind of think of them as green light foods.
Yep.
Like eat as much of these as you want. And I think that helped a lot of people as well.
That reminds me, I have a client right now. We are doing a pretty severe like elimination diet just because she has some like dietary distress things happening. And so we're doing something called a low FODMAP diet. And originally I gave her a list
Can you
of...
explain what FODMAP is for our listeners?
FODMAP is an acronym it's basically sugars. I'm not going to get into all of like what the F and the O.
Disaccharides, saccharides,
Yep.
monosaccharides, polysaccharides.
Yeah. So, but the list of foods to stay away from isn't intuitive. It's not like, you know, stay away from all grains and stay away from
It's
all
stuff you
dairy.
think is healthy.
It's
Yeah.
like broccoli. You should stay away from broccoli,
Right.
right? So I gave her initially a list of foods to kind of stay away from, and she had a really hard time. Okay, so I flipped the script and I was like, okay, I'm just going to make you a list of food that is like low inflammatory, low on the FODMAP list. And here's a list of power foods. These are the things to consume. And all of a sudden she was like, bing, light bulb, you know? So it was cool to see.
I think the interesting people, when people talking about, you know, indulgences or cleaning up their diet and in general, I feel like you can use the spectrum. You should use the spectrum for everything.
Yeah.
You know, when people talk about like, well, I love pizza, but you know, I want to, okay, well, what's a better pizza?
Right.
You know, or desserts. Like I have a sweet tooth, right?
Yeah.
You know, I probably indulge in my sweet tooth almost every night. Oh, I did last night too.
But
Forgot
it's
about
like
that.
some dark chocolate.
Yeah, it's
or-
dark chocolate. I've learned to love 100% dark chocolate. Emily's not there yet. One
Nope.
day I'll get her
That
there.
is not
I don't
satisfying.
think I will
sweet tooth.
ever
It's
be
so
there.
bitter.
I love it.
Well, yeah, like I have a client right now, once a week, she and her fiance make homemade pizzas, and she always kind of rolls her eyes when she mentions it. She's like, I know we could probably do something better. And I'm like, if that's your like indulgent thing during the week, I would much prefer you make a pizza at home.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that is
Then
going to be much better
Order
for
Domino's.
Then order
you. You can get
Domino's.
quality ingredients.
Absolutely.
You know, and as long as you're not eating like 2 by yourself.
There's a reason a large pizza at Domino costs $5.99, right? I guess that's the price. I have no idea. But and then the pizza that we get
been a
is
minute.
$15.99 for.
Yeah, I mean, I eat
10-inch.
pizza, but when we go out, like we're literally spending $60 on pizza. Not to say that that's something that you need to do, but quality of ingredients, like it's not about labeling food as good or bad. It's all lives on a spectrum, and that's true for French fries, for burgers, for pizza, for you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, all that stuff. Awesome. So people kind of similarly do the same thing with exercise, right? Like, so they're, you know, not that exercise is bad or, well, it's good. Exercise is always good. But when people tend to overindulge, we'll say that, then they want to use exercise as a punishment,
Yep.
right? Which could lead to not so great results.
Well, I mean, we talk about this between us a lot. I think I think every person at some point has had some form of disordered eating. Now, I'm not saying an eating disorder that requires, medical intervention, professional help, but some kind of disordered eating. And disordered eating is, having what you might deem a cheat meal or overindulging and then using exercise to punish yourself and try and negate the calories.
Mm-hmm. Starting a fast the next day. Not to say that fasting is necessarily bad, but if you're using it as punishment, then that can be a
I used to do this all the time. I used to do this all the time where exercise became the thing that would fix my nutrition, which is not real. That's not a real thing. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Listen to our last podcast.
Yeah, listen to our last podcast. But when you start like connecting those two things where like I'm going to use exercise to make up for, or like you said, as a punishment, then exercise is no longer fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Overcompensating for messing up or kind of having a goof in terms of your nutrition, overcompensating the next day is not going to get you where you want. And I mean, I can use me as a perfect example. This weekend was Father's Day. It was my birthday. It was my daughter's birthday. I indulged. I had cupcakes. I had an awesome lemon pie that I made.
Can you tell everybody about your lemon pie?
It was good. The whole pie was like 4 ingredients. It was
icebox pie.
Yeah.
Yum.
Lemons and lemon juice and lemon zest and egg yolks and
Use graham crackers.
Graham cracker crust, homemade graham cracker crust. It was delicious. Anyway, the next day, I didn't do anything different than I would normally do. Mm-hmm. I just got right back to how I normally eat. I had that indulgence, but it's not about overcompensating the next day. It's about just getting right back on to normal eating.
Yeah, and kind of going into moments like that, knowing that that isn't forever. And I find a lot of people kind of preemptively beat themselves up about it.
Yes.
So my birthday is 2 days before Emily's. We are the same person. And I knew going in, so my birthday was on a Thursday. I knew I was eating out for lunch and dinner the day of my birthday. I knew the following night I would be eating out for dinner with family. And then I knew Sunday was Father's Day and we were doing a big breakfast with my parents. So I just knew. I knew that it would take a couple of days for me I didn't feel awful, but I just knew I would feel a little sluggish, a little lethargic because I don't always eat that way. But I also didn't, within that time, try to change anything else. So I worked out normally Saturday morning after eating out 2 meals the day before. And then I ate normally before ordering out for dinner. I didn't starve myself Saturday because I'd indulged the day before and I was going to indulge later. And what that helped with is I didn't go into another meal out starving. I didn't overeat. I finished my meal. I was satisfied. I was full. It was done. Moved on.
And it probably helped with your energy levels and your motivation to work out. And what I mean? It translated to other things because you didn't punish yourself. I see that a lot. And not necessarily with behaviors, but with the words that people use. I think that sometimes even the nicest human beings are just so mean to themselves. And it's not a matter of if you are going to slip up and have a goof in terms of your nutrition, it's a matter of when. So it's important to have compassion with yourself, and it's easier said than done. But yeah, there's nothing good that comes from punishing yourself and beating yourself up over a meal that is quote unquote off plan.
And I think it's important a lot of times with us, and when you're talking with someone you're close to and can maybe have this conversation with, but if you listening to the way you talk to yourself, how would you feel if you heard your friend verbalizing those things?
Yeah.
You would feel like they were being just absolutely awful to themselves, or you would never say those things to another person. So why are you saying it to yourself?
What do you think about not the theory, but saying are these calories worth it? I mean, thoughts on that, where that might land with all of this. For example, all right, I only partake in wine if it tastes good.
I think that's healthy behavior.
Right. Well, I just wanted to check because I like to indulge.
Yeah.
but I only want to. I know there's limitations to my indulgences, so I limit it to being worth it. Like I've asked you sometimes, even when we're out at a wedding or something like that, and I'm like, is the cake worth it?
Yeah.
That's okay.
I kind of wait.
That's not bad talk.
This
right?
is what I do at a party. I kind of wait until somebody is like, oh my gosh, where did this cake come from? And I'll be like, okay, I'll have a piece.
Right.
Right. I can't tell you how many times people have said in like a nutrition check-in, yeah, I just had the cupcake and it was awful. Like it was so
Put it down. Don't
bad.
eat it. Right.
Take a bite.
Or like
Get rid of
telling
the rest.
people, and this is also just kind of a general rule, is like not keeping it in your house. But I tell people like, okay, if you want ice cream, don't keep cheap ice cream in your house. Make yourself go out and get some
we
that
do
you
that.
really want, that you enjoy. It's probably better quality.
That's exactly what we do.
Yeah. I mean, the best thing about the phase 2 in Louisiana right now is that there's still a line to get into Trader Joe's. So I don't go that often, which means that
You don't
I
get
am
your cones?
I'm not picking up my little mini cones because those things are dangerous. They taste good, although they're pretty decent ingredient wise, and
And they're like 90 calories.
It's 90
for
calories
one,
a
and
cone.
it's like a teeny tiny cone, and it completely satisfies your. I mean, it's like this. They're mini cones
you could do 2.
sometimes,
Yeah.
but it satisfies that.
I had
sweet
one last
tooth.
night. Yeah, I
Right.
had one last night, just a single one.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and I mean, something we had talked about, I believe it was in the 800 gram challenge seminar, maybe the one before, is probably the one before. Food is information and it tells a story about you.
Yep.
So thinking of it as more than that, like when you get ice cream, what does it mean to you? What is that experience like?
I know we're talking a lot, I am, about better ingredients, which better ingredients on all things across the board, from meats, vegetables, to eating out, etc., cost more, right? You know, and I know that might alarm people right here. I forget the exact percentages, but I want to say that, 40 years ago, we used to spend quadruple the amount of money on food that we did on healthcare, and now those have reversed. Where we spend, I want to say, 10% or less on our food today out of our
And when you say
our
"our,"
income.
you're talking about general public.
America.
Yeah.
Talking about America.
Because I know that our
Not
food
ours.
bill
Yeah, we
is,
spend a lot of money on
is
food.
second to our mortgage. Like that is our greatest expense.
She's not joking. It is true.
Not joking.
It is.
But
is.
it's an investment. It's an investment in your health, and I would much rather pay a ton of money on really good quality food.
Yeah, I want to say it's
than have
30.
to pay on for
Americans today spend about
pressure
10% or less of their income on food and 30 to 40% of their income on healthcare.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you can't see how that's a problem, then you should come see us.
Well, and I also find, I think where we spend the most money is on like quality meats.
Right.
But in terms of like fruits and vegetables, I'm not worried about going to a specific store and it's got to be all organic and like
Yeah,
our
I don't
snacks aren't labeled,
You can eat well, and you can control your body composition without spending a fortune on food. We just view it as, that's the thing that we
love.
We love, yeah.
That's what we spend. We don't have a vacation house. We don't go to Disney World every year, those types of things. So
we spend our money on food.
food and shoes.
But do you remember that? Like yeah. Bradley spends money on shoes. We went to Spain with some friends of my parents, and we came back from just this like day on the beach with just our family and our kids, like just Bradley and I and our kids. And we said something about how much we spent on lunch, and my mom.
It wasn't a lot. It was like $150.
Yeah, my mom's friends were like, "What?" I was like, "We had the
I think
perfect
what she
day."
said was, "It must be nice to be rich," and I'm like, "No, it's just what we prioritize."
Yeah, it's 100% what we prioritize.
And to this day, outside of the wedding, Maria's wedding, that was the most memorable day
Yeah.
of the trip.
Yeah.
And it sticks with me forever. So
It's because of our meal. Yeah.
it was
our
because of our
scenery.
meal.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what else do you think are some other like self-sabotaging behaviors when it comes to food?
I mean, the overcompensating, the beating yourself up, I see that a lot too with like, specifically with high performers. They're like, I have all this going for me. Why can't I figure this out? And they slip up and they just like are so angry with themselves. What was the question?
Self-sabotaging behaviors. But I'm going to
things.
jump in here because like I see this. We're so good. I see this. I asked somebody this the other day, and maybe this is like the precision nutrition certification talking to me. And then also like how easily, I don't know if it's media, but journals or whatever, but like the general diets that people just want to jump on the train on and off of have messed people up in terms of, I was talking to someone the other day and they're like, I had too many carbohydrates and I can't do that. And I'm like, well, why? Well, carbs are bad. And I'm like, why do you think carbs are bad? Well, and I'm like, no. Why do you think? And then it can get into a whole discussion of carbs on the spectrum again, right? And so people are just jacked in the head from years of surface level dieting, right?
Yeah. They don't understand what moves the needle in terms of their health and their body composition. They think that it's, cutting something out or staying away from a food group. But yeah. The other thing that I see with self-sabotage, though, that we didn't touch on is the opposite happening. So we've talked about like people slipping up and then trying to overcompensate and punish themselves. But also it's very common for people to slip up and say, I slipped up, so that means I can never get back on track again, so screw it.
Or a meal turns into a day, into a week.
Yeah.
Well, I also hear a lot of the idea like, I earned this cookie. Like, no, just eat the cookie because you want it, and then that's it.
Right.
You have the
I
one
agree.
cookie and you walk away. You didn't earn it.
And that goes back to like the exercise stuff. Is like you
Yeah,
had a hard workout, like, well, I'm going to go crush some pizza now. Well, you just ruined your workout.
Yeah.
You didn't get the benefits of that workout because you just went and ate 2,000 calories worth of pizza.
I think being compassionate with yourself is super important, but I also think that you can like be too compassionate with yourself and like not hold yourself accountable for your actions or kind of blow things off. It's important to be compassionate, but also be honest with yourself.
I think people have that's probably another self-sabotaging behavior. Is people aren't honest enough with themselves. And honest is honest. I don't mean like honest in terms of calling yourself fat in the mirror.
Right.
I mean, you are not realizing what you're putting into your mouth.
I mean, food is a super emotional thing.
Yep.
And nobody likes sitting with their perceived shortcomings.
Right.
And asking yourself to sit there and let it feel messy for a second is really hard. And it's not comfortable. Like, that's the thing. It's kind of funny. It's like what I tell people who are like, I just want to love running. Like, you're never going to love it. Like, unless you grew up that way, you're never going to love it. But you can learn to get a lot out of it. You can learn to be better at it. Like, you're never going to love sitting down and feeling like you messed up. But sometimes you need to sit with that and just look at it. Like,
reflect.
Examine it,
right.
reflect.
That makes me think, though, like, when you talk about liking it or you're never going to like it, like, it's almost a learned behavior, liking it. For example, like, someone who just says, F it, I'm just going to eat whatever I want, and I love all these cookies and this food and all this stuff all the time.
You got to die of something.
Right, that kind of thing. There are things that they don't like about it.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? But they're not telling themselves that.
They're rationalizing.
They're
it.
rationalizing
Yep.
it. So, like, they don't like the fact that they're overweight, or they don't like the fact that they feel a certain way after they crush all this food, right? Where the alternative is, maybe someone doesn't like eating necessarily on point. I don't want to say clean because everybody says clean, right? But like eating the way that you should eat for yourself, okay? And maybe they don't like that, but they like the feeling you get from it, or how your body looks, or how you perform, or your health markers, those things like that. So there's a trade-off with everything. And I feel like people don't think about those trade-offs.
Yeah. I think Precision Nutrition has an article about like the cost of getting lean and the things that you have to give up to achieve that six pack. You know, it may
Right.
not be something that you want to go for because of the things that you have to do in order to achieve it. I mean, life is a trade-off, but yes.
Yeah.
I do think, though, people may not be able to see this far in the future, but there's like levels unlocked. Okay. And this is what I mean by that is like, it might be really difficult to achieve level 1. And I don't mean level 1 precision nutrition. I mean, level 1, like, you know, I lost X amount of pounds, and then you can kind of like, it's easy to maintain that level. And then you got to jump up to the next level. So case in point, like you might one day see your abs and then you lose them, and then you see them again and then you lose them. And then you stay in that zone for enough to where you always see abs, and now it's the level of how many abs can I see? Right. No, I'm serious. And then you can go bounce between that, you know, to where like if you have some indulgences or you go on like a birthday, you guys didn't go on a birthday bender,
Right.
but you had many indulgent meals over a 3 or 4 day period, but your body kind of looked the same because you reached that level. Now it might take a week or 2 weeks off to kind of for your body to get out of that. But I don't think people realize that it does get easier to maintain a level once you're there long enough.
Yeah. And I think it's healthy too to kind of see some progress and then be in maintenance mode for a while, and then see some progress and then be in maintenance. You know, being like in a caloric deficit for an extended period of time, it doesn't do great things to your hormones and whatnot, you know? So it's very healthy to be in that kind of plateau maintenance mode for a little while and then rev the gas a little bit.
And I think you cannot, with your body, always be pushing.
Yes.
I mean, even athletes, the ones we see that so many people strive to look like, we see them in competition.
Yeah.
They're where their nutrition and their training and their recovery is dialed in with
Right.
a team of professionals. So how is someone, maybe a mom of 3, how do you expect yourself to look like that sprinter, that runner, that competitor? It's unrealistic.
Yeah, and I mean, you can push meal by meal or day by day. It doesn't necessarily have to be week by week, you know, where you can kind of say like, hey, Monday through Wednesday, you know, I'm going to try to keep it hard. And then just because Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you might be a little bit more relaxed. It doesn't mean every meal needs to be relaxed.
Well, this is a conversation, and Sarah just said dialed in, and it reminded me, like, thinking about dieting and nutrition on a dial and not an on-off switch. It's not
Yes.
on a diet, off a diet. You know, I made some more indulgent choices over my birthday weekend, but I still, like, we went out to dinner on Saturday night and I didn't drink any alcohol. Like, you know, so I didn't go crazy.
Yeah, and something else we talk about always is the little bit better approach.
Yeah.
And you can manipulate that however you want. Maybe it's, I'm going to make my weekend a little bit better. Maybe it's my grocery shopping's a little bit better. My lunches are a little bit better. The next 6 hours, like, how do I make that better than yesterday? Because I got home and I just like ate everything in sight. So picking that, and also just instead of thinking, you know, tying in with food being on a spectrum, just, okay, what are the good things I can have more of versus what are the things I need to cut out?
Yeah.
Because I think all of us have a little bit, whether we want to admit it or not, we all have that little bit of like petulant child in our head that's like, you tell me I shouldn't have something, well,
Right.
now I want it.
That's
Yeah.
exactly my experience with my client we're doing this elimination diet with. I told her all the things to stay away from, and I was like, oh, but then
That's
I was
all I
like,
want.
okay,
Yeah.
here's all the things that you
Have
can eat a
these
lot of.
things. And I think that's what was great about the 800 gram challenge is while body composition wasn't crazy, people just felt so much better because we didn't say, okay, you can't eat any of this stuff. It was just eat more of the good things.
And then, you know, we've talked about my snacking in the past in terms of trying to make it more of a balanced snack time, or as you would say, a mini meal, right?
Yeah.
But once I realized like the better things for me to snack on, and by better, guys, I'm talking about going from like salami to turkey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now I buy 3 packs of turkey sliced turkey breast from Whole Foods, and I keep a pack in the fridge here, and I just chow down on it now with a bunch of apples.
I think that is really good. I think that a lot of people, I get that question all the time. What can I snack on? What can I snack on? And I think when people are thinking snacks, they're thinking like packaged, grab and go stuff.
You should see my snack.
like I encourage people to think of snacks as like just smaller meals, like reframe your whole idea of snacking. Try to hit all the macronutrient.
Snack doesn't have to be a bar.
Right. It doesn't have to be a bar. It doesn't have to be bagged and processed.
I used to bring 2 or 3 hard-boiled eggs every single day to work.
Yeah.
That was like my afternoon snack.
Yeah, and people that want to snack on nuts, you could end up eating too many nuts, and now your fat content is blown out of the water.
Yeah.
So I love the approach of a mini meal. It
Yeah.
makes it balanced. You want to have everything on there: fat, carb, protein.
Yeah. And when you think of like the idea of a snack, it's, this eating time in between meals to get you to the next meal. But if you're just eating a handful of nuts or whatever, like that's not going to sustain you in the same way as eating a little bit more in that snack, but having a balanced approach. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, chances are if you eat that handful of nuts, then you're just going to eat more of what you wanted to eat at the dinner. Or if you eat the balanced mini meal,
Right.
you might eat less
Yep.
in the next meal, or stay balanced for that matter. So
Yeah.
Cool.
cool. Anything to add, guys?
No, I dig
Ladies?
it.
Yeah. I thought
These
this was
nutrition
fun.
conversations are fun.
It's my jam.
Yeah. I think next one we should talk about balanced meals.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, y'all.
Coming to a podcast near you soon.
Hope you enjoyed this. You can find us at Rue_fitness. If you go to Rue.fitness and you're interested in some nutrition coaching, we have Sarah's link up there, Emily's link, my link. We got Claire and Renee's link as well.
And if people have questions about nutrition too, like I'd love to hear what people want to know.
Yeah, we can do a whole nutrition cast Q&A. I like calling it the nutrition cast.
I do too.
Yeah.
So if you have questions about nutrition, please let us know. You can send them in via Facebook to the Rue Fitness page, via Instagram through the direct messages, or just email us, tell us. You can text me. The number's on the door.
Literally.
And the website. All right. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe. The reviews are real important. That's separate from a rating. Rating is 5 stars. 5 stars always. The review is kind words underneath. So
Thanks for breaking that down.
we appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye.
Bye.